reports of large and mysterious creatures lurking under Lake Michigan, but it's what's washed up on the lakeshore today that...
Gosh, it was kind of like we saw a dinosaur.
They have seen a monster coming up from the depths.
Water needs rescued out, so he's trying to approach this thing that looks like a boat. And as they approached, this thing just went under the water.
The Iranian Navy recently found a strange creature floating in the Persian Gulf, sparking curiosity and speculation. Oceans cover most of our planet, so discovering new marine life isn't unusual. But occasionally, fishermen reel in something so odd that it shocks even seasoned experts. What could this bizarre creature be, and what does it hold? Let us examine intriguing discovery while we explore the wonders of the deep sea that will change your perception on marine life. Strange creature found on Cabong Beach. Back in 2023, something really weird washed up on Cabong Beach, and it got everyone talking. This creature was kind of a grayish-white color, but it was so badly decomposed that you could see its bones sticking out. It had a long tail, and you could just about make out its skull through what little skin was left. It looked like it had been dead for a pretty long time, which made it super hard for anyone to figure out what it actually was. A bunch of people came to take a look, trying to guess whether it was just another sea animal or something totally different. Most of its flesh was gone, and what was left was just bone and some bits of rotten skin. It was hard to tell what this thing was. Was it a regular creature from the ocean, or something we hadn't seen before? In the Pacific Ocean, there was this sad sight of a dead gray whale floating on the water. It wasn't moving at all, and there were a few smaller whales and some seagulls hanging around it. This whale looked like it had been dead for a bit, because there was this weird fluid leaking from its mouth. It was pretty heartbreaking to see other sea creatures start to feed on it. The whale's mouth was wide open, and it just floated there, making the whole scene even more striking. The smaller whales and the seagulls being there made it feel even more eerie and somber. The whale was huge, which just added to the whole impact of seeing it like that. Over on a beach in Oregon, USA, people stumbled upon this huge creature that was about 10 feet long and totally covered in white hair. The thing had this ice gray color, almost like it belonged in the Antarctic or something. It was lying there on the beach, all decayed. Because of all the hair, it was really tough to make out what kind of animal it might be. It looked almost like it was made of stone from a distance, but it was definitely some kind of sea animal. That unusual hairy look made it really hard for anyone watching to guess just what kind of animal they were looking at. Everyone was scratching their heads, wondering about where it came from and what exactly it was. In 2021, this amazing thing happened off the coast of Argentina when fishermen caught a giant squid that was still alive and a bright orange color. They quickly handed it over to some marine scientists to check it out. To make sure the squid didn't get hurt, the scientists gave it a shot to make it sleep for a little while. They noticed that it was an old creature and part of a rare species known for being big and sometimes dangerous. This squid had a huge head and long tentacles that really caught the scientists' interest. They took a bunch of notes and samples to study it more later. After they were done checking it out, they woke it up and let it go back into the ocean. It was a pretty cool moment for everyone involved. Late one night, two fishermen from Long Island managed to catch a massive great white shark near a Caribbean island. This shark was huge, about 20 feet long and weighing more than 3,000 pounds. It had big, sharp teeth, and its mouth was wide open. Unfortunately, the shark was already dead. When people on the beach saw it, they couldn't believe their eyes and called in a rescue team right away. The team managed to wrap the shark in a net and used a crane to lift it. The sight of such a big shark attracted a lot of people who wanted to see it up close. Marine biologists came too, to try to figure out how the shark had died and to collect some data for science. After finding strange things along the coast, an amazing event in Chile brought even more surprises. Giant oarfish caught in Ica. On July 11th, something incredible happened in Ica, Chile. A fisherman named Ruben Luis Gonzalez Sanchez caught this enormous oarfish, and it was the biggest catch people had seen there in at least 10 years. The fish was almost 20 feet long. As soon as the boat carrying the fish got to the port, a big crowd gathered to watch as they used a crane to lift the oarfish out. The whole thing was filmed and shared on TikTok by Sanchez, and it quickly went viral, getting nearly 20 million views. In Japan, people think seeing an oarfish can be a sign of upcoming natural disasters like tsunamis or earthquakes, which just added to the excitement and curiosity about this massive fish. Down in Flagler County, a huge event occurred when a 3-ton killer whale washed up on Palm Coast. A guy was just taking his usual morning walk on the beach when he spotted this big white thing by the water. Getting closer, he realized it was an orca whale and quickly called the police and some wildlife experts. The police showed up to ask questions and try to figure out how the whale ended up there. The experts determined it was a mature female orca, about 21 feet long and weighing over 6,000 pounds. They got to work fast, tying ropes around the whale and using a crane to move it. They took it to the SeaWorld Research Center to find out more about what happened. This drew a lot of people and even got the media interested, as everyone wanted to know more about this majestic sea creature that had ended up on their beach. So, in the northwest of Peru, a group of fishermen had a day they'll probably never forget. They caught a giant manta ray, and get this, it weighed more than a ton. They were just out there fishing in their homemade wooden boat when suddenly this huge ray swims right into their net. This thing was massive, about 26 feet long, and they found it near something called La Cruz Cave. One of the fishermen, Eric Cruz, mentioned that the manta ray was so big they couldn't even lift it onto their boat. Instead, they had to tie it to the side of the boat and just tow it back to shore. You know, manta rays were a big deal in ancient Peru, often showing up in old artworks and tales. Sailors back then were actually quite scared of them, thinking they could swallow a ton of fish and maybe even flip over boats. Looking at the size of this one, you can kind of see why they thought that, though luckily, these creatures are known to be pretty gentle. In North Carolina, some fishermen hit the jackpot with a massive swordfish. This fish was nearly 10 feet long and was so heavy that they needed a pulley to lift it. It had this really long, sharp sword on its face, which made it look pretty intimidating. The fish was this dark gray color and was just hanging there, lifeless. The two guys who caught it were thrilled. You could tell they felt pretty proud as they touched the swordfish's impressive sword. It caused quite a stir around there. Everyone wanted to come and see this enormous fish. It had a sleek body and this big sharp sword sticking out of its face. The fishermen were so excited, telling everyone how tough it was to pull in such a huge fish. They'd never seen a swordfish that big before, and their excitement was contagious. It quickly became the local sensation, with people gathering around to check out this amazing catch. Down in Mayaro, Trinidad, some fishermen had a catch that was out of this world. They caught a huge grouper. This fish was all brown, tail and all, and about 9 feet long. It was so heavy that 6 guys couldn't even lift it. They tried everything to move this massive fish, but ended up having to drag it along the beach with a rope. They struggled so much with it that they eventually had to call for a truck. Once the truck arrived, they tied the grouper to it with a rope and managed to haul it away. This wasn't just a big fish story, it was a huge community effort, and the size of the grouper became a legend among those who saw it. With all the cool finds in Argentina and Oregon, what happened next in the cold waters of Glacier Bay was even more amazing. Giant octopus clings to fishermen's trap. Over near Vancouver Island, some fishermen had an experience they won't forget anytime soon. They were out fishing in the ocean, dropped their trap in the water, hoping for a good catch. When they started pulling the trap out, they noticed it was way heavier than usual. Imagine their surprise when they found a giant Pacific octopus clinging to it. The octopus was about 7 feet long, bright red, and had wrapped its tentacles all around the trap, not wanting to let go. It seemed like it was determined to hitch a ride out of the ocean. The fishermen were totally amazed by this. They'd never seen anything quite like it. The octopus had such a strong grip that they really struggled to get it off the trap. This encounter really stuck with them, showing just how powerful and strange ocean creatures can be. On a cold morning in January 2020, something quite unusual happened at Glacier Bay National Park in Gustavus, Alaska. A 6-foot-long female ragfish was found on the shore. This was only the second time a ragfish had washed up in this area since July of the previous year. The park authorities said that ragfish are mostly made of cartilage, similar to squid in texture. They usually live really deep in the ocean, around 4,000 feet down, so we don't know much about them. What we do know is that they mainly eat squid, octopus, and jellyfish. Interestingly, both of the ragfish found were pregnant when they came ashore. This has made some people wonder if something specific is happening deep in the ocean that's affecting these deep-sea moms. Over in Manaus, a huge Puku fish was caught, and it was massive, almost 10 feet long and tipping the scales at 220 kilograms. This catch was a big deal because around 20 families there make their living by fishing Puku. So you can just imagine the celebration they had that night. While catching Puku isn't unusual, snagging one this size definitely is. It's the biggest they've ever seen in the area. They've stored it in a big freezer in the west part of Manaus. The fisherman was generous too. He gave the internal organs to the local farming and production office, which really highlights the need to keep fishing sustainable so everyone can keep benefiting from the river. Imagine pulling up a 10-feet-long squall from the sea off Caponero, which lies between the places called Sano and Opti. It was such an incredible find because squalls this big haven't been seen for ages, and it even surprised the tough old fishermen who caught it. They didn't keep it though. They let it go right back into the ocean. This isn't new. Big squalls have been seen around here before, possibly because the sea is getting warmer, which might be drawing these big guys closer to the beaches more often. Seeing this squall was a real sign of how much our ocean life is getting shaken up by changes in the climate. The idea that the giant megalodon shark might still be hiding somewhere in our deep seas has got a lot of people around the world pretty excited. We've only mapped out about 5% of the ocean floor, so who knows what's out there, right? Maybe even some creatures we thought were long gone. There's a video that got people talking again. It supposedly shows a huge shark, over 59 feet long, swimming past during a Brazilian Coast Guard rescue. It looked kind of like a gigantic great white shark. This video got aired on the Discovery Channel, which made more people take it seriously. It sparked a fresh wave of debate about whether the megalodon is still out there somewhere. Down at a port in Ghana, fishermen landed a catch that included an enormous black shark. They decided to hand it over to scientists for a closer look instead of selling it. The size of this shark amazed everyone, the fishermen and the scientists alike. It was not something they expected to find in their nets. After the scientists checked it out and made sure it was okay, they released it back into the sea. This gave them a rare chance to study such a big shark up close and learn more about these big creatures in their own home, the ocean. The unusual catches in the Pacific and South American rivers were impressive, but the deep waters of the Atlantic and Indian Oceans had more surprises. Anglerfish with glowing light caught. A fisherman recently caught a pixie tramboli, which is another name for an anglerfish, and it was quite the sight on his boat. This fish has a look that could give you chills. It's got a big mouth full of sharp teeth that looks like it's always ready to bite. It quickly gobbled up whatever the fisherman threw in front of it. But the weirdest thing about it is the glowing light on its head. It's like a natural flashlight that it uses to see in the deep, dark parts of the sea. Watching this fish, the fisherman felt a mix of wonder and a bit of fear. There's nothing ordinary about a creature like this. Fishermen recently caught a fish that looked incredibly odd. It had a face that looked a bit human and was colored in 2 different shades. This catch drew a crowd, including some eager scientists who came to check it out. They measured it, took photos, and even collected some of its DNA to try to figure out what it was all about. People were fascinated by how it moved and looked. This fish has definitely stirred up a lot of interest and made people wonder what else might be swimming around unseen in the depths below. In Perth, a fisherman named Kai Bol recently caught a giant bull shark not far from where a sad event occurred involving a teenager named Stella Berry. Kai, who was quite experienced, managed to catch the 10-feet shark near East Fremantle, just a couple of miles from the site of the attack. The battle to reel in this large shark took about an hour and a half, and it wasn't easy. Once he caught it, Kai quickly removed the hook, took a picture for proof, and then let the shark go back into the water. Some people weren't happy about this, but Kai made it clear he cares a lot about the safety of sharks and thinks we should do a better job of keeping track of them in the Swan River. He's noticed more sharks around lately, which makes his catch and release practice quite noteworthy. Although it stirred up some controversy, the officials in charge of fisheries said that Kai did everything right. Steve Eklund and Mark Boise will always remember their first time fishing for sturgeon in the upper Fraser River near Lillooet. The fish they hooked was incredibly strong and full of energy, jumping out of the water 7 times, much like scenes from the movie Jaws. They fought with this giant fish for 2 whole hours. The sturgeon they managed to pull up next to their boat was about 10 feet long and weighed around 700 pounds. According to River Monster Adventures, who were guiding them, this sturgeon might be one of the biggest ever caught in that area, possibly over 100 years old. After taking some quick photos to capture the moment, they tagged the sturgeon and released it back into the river, contributing to conservation efforts while keeping the thrill of the catch alive. Out in the expansive Atlantic Ocean, a group of fishermen embarked on a mission to catch an Atlantic blue marlin. After hours of waiting and searching, they finally hooked one. They were amazed at how massive it was, and it took 4 of them working together to manage the heavy, powerful fish. The marlin was not only large, but also impressive with its sleek, sharp bill, resembling a sword. The experience was a true test of their skills and teamwork, providing a moment of profound awe and respect for one of the ocean's formidable predators. On a regular day by the Mekong River, a local fisherman made a catch that would go down in history. He reeled in a Mekong giant catfish that was over 9 feet long and weighed about 650 pounds. Experts who checked out the fish said it might be the largest catfish ever caught, and possibly the biggest freshwater fish on record. These giant catfish are now very rare and in danger because too many have been caught. This event highlights how big these fish can get, and the critical need to protect them to prevent their disappearance from our waters. Is this strange creature a natural phenomenon? Or could it be something more strange? Let us know what you think, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more intriguing stories.